All right, and we're back. Welcome to the OG Rivals podcast. I am your host, Miles Teddick, the Packer fan on this podcast. And guess what? Look at this. I am joined by your other host, the man that was not here last week after that tough loss that his Bears took to the Packers. Sir Miguel Prado, welcome, sir.
It was the bye week, Miles, and it is a pleasure to be back here. We're going into week 15 in the NFL. And we have had episodes that are in the vault. We've had guest co-host, shout out to Chris, and a big thank you to him.
Yes, sir.
We've had YouTube engagement, Twitter engagement. I think we might be a real podcast, man. That's pretty cool.
We're stepping out of the territory of second rate. So according to the troubled Vikings fan, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of evolving here a little bit. I got a little decoration going on here. Going for you.
Yeah, I'm digging the festive. We did say, right, getting a little bit of preparation here is that it is the holidays. You're in the holiday spirit representing over there. The future's bright. You got the lights on the beanie and definitely festive here at this time of year.
Here we go, man. Absolutely. And, this type of spirit always makes me feel better. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but what I do on a daily basis and the company that I love and work for, Life Leaf Remedies, also the sponsor of this podcast, we have a particular passion for helping y'all feel better today. We're making effective natural remedies for y'all for things like sleep, immune support, and other areas that you are seeking relief in. So check out lifeleafremedies.com. Learn more about the natural remedies that we have to offer. We're here to help y'all take better care of yourselves and your loved ones. If natural things are something you're passionate about, you can subscribe to any of our products to get free shipping and 10% off. That's a pretty sweet discount when you combine those two, if I do say so myself. And y'all are in control of your subscription, so cancel it at any time. We have a pretty strong confidence that you'll be back because we make some darn good products. And most importantly, y'all, feel better today. And, sir, if they wanted to, maybe make us feel better today, our OGs out there, what could they do for us?
Yeah, so this is going to go out straight to the OGs out there. If you enjoy our back and forth banter and enjoy what we talk about here on the OG Rivals podcast, go ahead and spike that like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe to talk about us at your next tailgate. And it's getting bitter cold out there, Miles. Some of the upcoming games at Soldier Field are going to be below freezing, so it's definitely bear weather here in the final stretch of the season, which will go deeper into January because of the new NFL scheduled format.
That's right.
So it's just something to keep in mind out there. Did see, I know we got a lot to talk about. Don't want to come out of the gate too hot, but I did see down in Miami, there's a lot of talk about the weather and the Dolphins playing some cold weather. And it wasn't Mike McDaniels that had I wish it was colder shirt on at today's practice.
Yes.
Out there in Miami.
A little swag going on there. Yeah, man. How do you think they'll respond to that? I mean, this is always the popular question, right? It comes up for the Packers too when people come into the Lambeau Field in the frozen tundra. How do you think the Dolphins respond to the cold weather they're walking into?
Well, little context here is they had heaters, so industrial sideline heaters, at the game this past weekend, week 14, and it was 55 degrees out, Miles.
Weak sauce.
Weak sauce. Actually, today, before getting ready for the podcast, ran out, did a couple errands with the family, with my wife and my son, and went to a store for some Christmas decorations. I have shorts on, Miles. It's 45 degrees outside. And a lady walks by and she goes, "Shorts? where are you from? You must be from. And before she could finish, I just said, Chicago.
Chicago. There you go. There you go. Let her know,
There
man.
you go.
I'm
It wasn't
surprised that
cold, man. It
your
wasn't
blood
even cold.
hasn't thinned out a little bit. You know, I mean, I spent some
It
time
has.
up there in the Midwest, and my blood thickened up there. But now that I'm back here in Texas, man, I'm weak. I've been weakened. I like the warm. Can't lie.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell that my blood's thinned out quite a bit when I'm bragging about 45 degrees, being able to handle that no problem.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and Christmas up in Chicagoland, flying in many years for this time of year, boy, it hits you before you're even off the plane. Like the moment you land, the entire plane just gets real chilly.
The air gets thicker.
And you know where you're at. You're in Chicago.
Oh yeah. No, unmistakable. I experienced that plenty of times, man. And so the Dolphins are heading up to the Bills this weekend, and you, sir, have the Eagles coming along here to Soldier Field. Now the Eagles are a cold weather team too, so not as much of a factor, I guess, right?
Oh, I mean, any Bears fan might age myself here because I know this new generation of Bear fans are fixated on Matt Nagy and the double doink and the 2018 team post Mitch Trubisky being the number 2 draft pick, but the OGs out there, they remember a Donovan McNabb coming into Soldier Field in the divisional round. What was it, 2005?
Yeah, man. When the Eagles had that run
earlier than that too.
Yep.
Yeah. It was either the 2001, somewhere between that 2001 2005 team where the Bears were dangerous. I mean, they would sneak into the playoffs, and Donovan McNabb, he went up there in January or December, and it's blistering cold, and played brilliantly. I mean, and this was a Bears defense. This was your Brian Urlacher, your Mike Brown. You're feeling really good about that as a Bears fan about containing Donovan McNabb. But just think about like that transition into who the Bears have at quarterback today, and the comparisons there of who he is talent wise and who he reminds people of. Like Michael Vick, I think Donovan McNabb is one that doesn't come up a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles playing in Chicago in the cold is not the home field advantage that you want from Bear weather. You would want that just like you would have with Miami going up to Buffalo, right? Where you have a tropical. I mean, Miami right now, they're wearing Havana shirts and shorts, right? So
right.
they're definitely enjoying some 80-degree weather down there. But going up to Buffalo and playing in the cold is no easy task.
No. I was just listening to Jordan Poyer on the McAfee show, and he was talking about that and how he even hates the cold, and I think a lot of guys like Rodgers has said the same thing, where he hated the cold, and you learn how to play in it, and you kind of learn how to make it your advantage. But I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the cold. It's always interesting to see how the weather impacts games this time of year. I got to rip the Band-Aid off, man. How you feeling? How you feeling after that loss to the Packers?
I feel great, Miles.
Because I know you.
I feel great. I know. Yeah, let's hear it. How do you think I feel?
No, I was just gonna say you were calling that win from a long way off. Like you called that thing.
Listen,
I called
that in training camp, Miles. And I think that there's some listeners out there that are going to appreciate the fact that I didn't sit on the fence there and then just hop off when things weren't looking bright. Let's keep in mind, right? Let's put some context here. At the time we recorded the podcast, Justin Fields had a separated left shoulder. And no idea if he was going to come in and start that week at home versus Green Bay. And the kid's tough. So here's what I'm going to say is, am I disappointed? 100%. And I'm saying this very carefully because, again, there's a faction of Bear fans that will witch hunt if you say that you are keeping an eye on draft position, or that a loss would be more beneficial in the long run than a moral victory by beating Green Bay. So I don't want to touch that with the 10-foot pole. Don't agree with it, right? Because I again, the Bears beat Green Bay. We talk about it on this podcast all the time because it doesn't happen a lot. They beat Green Bay for the Brett Favre jersey retirement or number retirement, right? And that ended up costing them about 5 spots in the draft. Because keep in mind, that season, they were not good, right? So that win against Green Bay, which was late in the year, everybody felt real good about it. They fall in the draft. They miss that draft pick. And it sets the team back, right? So, again, don't want to go on a tangent here. But you asked me how I feel. It was a win-win situation going into that game. Situation A, Justin Fields beats Aaron Rodgers. It's incredible. It's the end of an era. All these storylines around the legitimacy of Justin Fields, right? Or they get that much closer to drafting number 2 overall in the 2023 NFL draft, which a lot has happened since this game, right? And I just chose to enjoy the moment for what it was, which was statistically Justin Fields' best performance as an NFL quarterback. The defense, and this is where I don't want to get long-winded. Players don't tank. I think everybody understands that. These guys are some of the most competitive human beings on planet Earth. These are man movers. These are the fastest people on the planet. These are people that aren't out there tanking by any means. If you think that they care for 1 second about some college kid coming out of Georgia or coming out of Alabama and taking this team to the next level, you're the most wrong that you could be in this instance. Players do not tank. Front offices tank, right? And it's chess, not checkers. So when you think about it, and it's not hard to see when you see that defense out there, but I think Ryan Poles is playing chess because he's not giving Matt Eberflus even the slightest amount of a talent pool to compete, right? And so that I think is something to keep an eye on, because you have, and you could say you're putting pieces in place for the longevity of Justin Fields, i.e. the Chase Claypool trade, to potentially see how he can develop as that quarterback. Offensive line, we can talk about that as well here as we go on. But for this point, look at that defense, right? And you trade away Robert Quinn, you trade away Roquan Smith, who had a phenomenal game here this past week as a Raven. And then you start really thinking that's the avenue that they're tanking through, because they can't stop anybody.
Well, and I think we've talked about it a little bit, but to me, what it looks like is Poles is already in the off season. He's already in build mode. He's not necessarily looking at this as like, I think some GMs in season, they're always scouting. You're always self-scouting. You're always scouting the opponent and what's out there and all that. But you're also seeing how what you built turns out. You know, we thought this would happen. Did it happen or not? We thought this guy would be good. Was he good or not? I think right now Poles is not in that mode where he's wondering how things pan out. I think he's just like, I have this roster of guys and this, pool of resources to use to improve this roster of guys. And this season doesn't mean anything to him. I say that with the same amount of, like, the same grain of salt that you said what you did, right? It's players don't tank. Front offices do to an extent, right? It's not that Poles doesn't want to win. Sure, he wants to win, but he's not looking, like with Roquan Smith trading him away, he's not looking at that as like, well, Roquan, we have him, we could get 5 wins instead of 3. It's like, that's not ultimately a goal that a GM is trying to accomplish. 5 wins over 3. You're trying to make the playoffs. If the playoffs are out of reach, in my opinion, you're building. You're navigating what's out there. So kind of what we pointed out, and I think this was probably a pretty good one on our part, if I can toot our horn a little bit, but that the wide receiver free agent market is terrible. And people are starting to realize that on Twitter. I had a conversation with somebody today on there about Alan Lazard and the market that he could command, because in a basically nobody market, he's one of the best. And there's plenty of teams out there with cap space that won't have to pay him, 20, 15, even 20, nowhere near that. You're probably paying Alan Lazard 10 a year at the most, which is not a bad deal for a good receiver. Maybe he's not your receiver one, but he's a good receiver. And he's, again, I'll die on this hill, he's the best blocking receiver in the league. Until somebody could show me tape of a better one, I refuse to back off of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's part of what Poles is doing with the Claypool thing, is he's going, well, all right, we basically have nobody at receiver right now. You got Mooney, but Mooney needs help in order to work within the offense. So you bring in the Claypool, bring in a different skill set, and it's like a cornerstone piece. I mean, it's a building block. You're putting that in there, and your offseason started earlier. I think that's just the way he's looking at this entire season. And you almost have to probably look at next season in a similar light, where it's maybe you're halfway through the season and, are playoffs real or not? And if not, you're not necessarily selling and starting over, but you're back in build mode where you're like, all right, well, who do we not want going forward? Your Robert Quinns that we can get an asset for right now. Yeah, I mean, again, we've been complimentary of each other's teams on this podcast. I think sometimes maybe a little too much, but I respect the way that Ryan Poles is going about it, and it does seem pretty smart. It'll be really interesting to see what he does with a full draft and a full off season with salary cap. I think that's really going to tell a bigger story than even this season can.
Yeah, and I feel like we have obviously so much to cover and so much to talk about, but don't want to really lose sight of the basis of this show. We're fans of the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, respectively, and this was the meeting that determined the winningest franchise. Wasn't it the winningest franchise in the NFL?
Yeah.
Or did the Packers eclipse that the week prior?
No, it was the most wins all time. We were tied for it going into that game.
Time.
And then we pulled ahead of you for the first time in NFL history. So anybody who thought that game was meaningless against two teams with losing records, well, you're wrong. It was actually pretty meaningful.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those where, because of proximity to this era of football, i.e. the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers era, I think there's a generation of Packer fans that maybe don't even see the Bears as an eye-to-eye rival, right? It's just like,
yeah, you could be right.
Oh, this is this team that we've dominated for 30 years. But keep in mind that this is, over 100-year rivalry. And there have been plenty of seasons, right? And I don't say seasons as in NFL seasons. I say seasons as in, like, here comes a tide and it's the Green Bay Packers. And here comes a tide, and now it's, the Chicago Bears. And I mean, mentioned it earlier in this podcast with those early 2000 teams. The Bears were a pretty good team, right? I mean, they were.
You made the Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl in 2006.
Yeah.
Went to the NFC Championship game in 2011.
Yeah.
It's just, this past decade, I think, has been, that seasonal shift where it's domination, right, by Green Bay. That's just been lights out playing the Chicago Bears. But I say all that with the positive undertone that potentially the shift or the shift in the rivalry can change now if what we have predicted this offseason has in store for Chicago, comes to fruition. I think there's just too many resources. And I get it. It's your biggest rival if you're a Green Bay Packer fan, but ignoring the fact that they lead the league in salary cap, and they obviously are jockeying right now between that third and second draft pick overall, where, you've heard it here before, but I'll say it again. Expect Ryan Poles to trade out of that spot to a quarterback needy team. I would even say don't put it past him to be behind the Will Levi propaganda that's been flooding my timeline here in the past week. This guy's climbing draft boards like wildfire.
Is that the guy out of Kentucky?
And yeah, dude's got an arm, man. And I don't.
He looks
I'm
jacked.
not a propagandist. Yeah, he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
And so let's throw his name in there, Will Levi, with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. And I would say this too: if Caleb Williams was draft eligible, I think he won't be until next season.
Right.
But I anticipate that he would be in that mix too.
He looks
Heisman
good,
this Saturday.
Dude. Now, he got beat pretty bad in that Pac-12 game, but his season in general and his ability, he looks really good. He looks like a legitimate quarterback.
I asked you if you watched the Bears-Packers game. Did you watch the Pac-12 championship?
I did watch that game, yeah. I was thinking of you, too. I was like, man, this is not what Miguel had in mind.
In the game.
Yeah, he was beat, man.
So that was a bad weekend for me. They'll be playing in the Cotton Bowl against Tulane, I believe.
Coming to the neighborhood here
at the end of down there playing the Cotton Bowl. But that USC Utah game, I'll tell you what, man, hats off to Utah. But Caleb was playing, I think, with a severe injury. So hats off to him for really grinding that one out. Didn't look good at all. But all that to say, right, is these quarterbacks that are coming out, there have been some abysmal, I think, quarterback classes. This is not one of those years where you're looking at that draft board and saying, woof, I'm not taking a quarterback round one. You got a lot of talent up there, so keep an eye on that draft position. With that being said, Miles, let's talk about how fast Christian Watson is.
Oh man, he's so fast. Makes fast people look slow.
Dude, you're not lying.
He's fast, man. Like that.
You called it though. You called it.
I from that first play against the Vikings, I tried to sound the alarms to you guys. His speed is different. And going against Patrick Peterson, an aging Patrick Peterson even, if you watch these other games against the Vikings and see other receivers run against Patrick Peterson, he doesn't get beat like that. He may not be the fastest guy in the league, but he does not get beat like that. He does not get caught out of position like that. You could almost see the panic on his face. And that's a savvy, smart, like that's a really, really good veteran in this league. He, again, might have lost a step or two with age, but when it comes to somebody who, if he's on the field, he's bringing his A game. Like Patrick Peterson is always sharp. So for him to be caught off guard by that speed, that's why I was like, whoa, hey, everybody, look at this. And now since then, we've said it. And you could, where I really called it out was when he got hurt against the Giants. And watching that game, Packers fans all felt the change, but nobody really put their finger on what it was. So much going wrong. There was so much happening. And then, Saquon Barkley's in, Saquon Barkley's out. There was a lot of stuff going on in that game. But really when it changed for the Packers is when Christian Watson went out. And when he wasn't in on that offense, it didn't go. And we talked about it and have called it out a few times. And now that he's been in that offense for the last few weeks and has, racked up 9 touchdowns, well, I guess one of them was before 8 touchdowns in the last few weeks. That's not by accident, and I've had to get into it with some people on Twitter. You talk about, some sensitive Bears fans out there. There is definitely a civil war going on Packers Twitter, maybe a couple of them. But that we'll get into that with lazy takes. But yeah, I mean, there's people who still do not realize how fast this kid is.
Yeah.
It can't be overstated, in my opinion. And so the stat that we went over last week when Chris was on, and they popped this up, I think I saw it on Twitter, that Christian Watson, when he hit that top speed against the Bears, it was like 21.7 something, tied for the fastest speed reached by a receiver this season. And I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that episode, but did you catch who he tied with?
No, I did not.
Deshaun Jackson.
Oh my God.
Of all the the names, you immediately you'd be like, what, Tyreek Hill, right? And
this season.
This season. Deshaun Jackson and Christian
my
Watson are tied for the highest speed reached by a receiver. And I was like, is Deshaun Jackson like 40 years old? How old is that guy? And he's still one of the fastest in the league. Somebody sign him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting, and that's what brought out the hat. Get the bright future on display. I guess Jordan Love brought it out, but then Christian Watson kept it out. Obviously we have some fan superstitions. So the Packers won the last time that I had this hat and this polo, so it will last until they lose. So, but yeah, it's exciting. And I think that the combination of Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, even maybe Samori Toure, with a Jordan Love who can play the way that he played against the Eagles, future is as bright in Green Bay as anywhere else, in my opinion. If he's going to hit Christian Watson in stride on a regular basis and let him just take off and make fast people look slow, how do you stop him?
Kid's lightning quick. I would say, if anything, pumping the brakes might be needed, because I think their report that just came out that Jordan Love said that he would request a trade if Aaron Rodgers comes back next year. Oh,
I mean, this is deja vu, and if you're not old enough as a Packers fan, then I'm sorry, but this is 2007, 2008 Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers all over again. Aaron Rodgers was going to demand a trade if they didn't move on from Brett Favre in 2008, and lo and behold, what happened? They moved on. I still maintain.
You're calling it then. You're calling it. Huh?
I'm making this. I've been saying this. I'm going to continue to say it. I think that this is the last season for Aaron Rodgers. I think they trade him this offseason and move on. And we touched on it a little bit last week, but the way things are unfolding, Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. You can't. If you've got I think he's like 23, 24-year-old quarterback in Jordan Love, who Goot has already come out and publicly said he knows what he has. He doesn't need to see another snap. He hasn't traded the kid yet. That means he likes him. There's a market for quarterbacks. He could have cashed in on a good quarterback. He didn't. He wants Jordan Love to be the future of this franchise. If Jordan Love is going to be the future of this franchise, Aaron Rodgers got to go. And not a lot of people are going to like that. I mean, I mentioned that a little bit before, that there is definitely a civil war happening on Packers Twitter between the people who are in their feels about, Rodgers being, gone, and people who are like, do we want this team to win games or not? I mean, if Jordan Love's a good quarterback and you've got the tools around him that you're building, move on. And that's not the emotional take. And this is somebody who, for the large part of my life, Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I've known Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's it, as quarterbacks of Green Bay Packers. And as a fan, this is going to be a large part of my fandom that's moving on too. So it's not like I'm some little kid over here that's like, well, I haven't watched the Aaron Rodgers era. I haven't really been tied to that. I was a freshman in high school when he got drafted.
Oh yeah.
I am now married with 2 children. Right? Like, there's a big gap of life there that Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback for. And so this isn't coming from a place of ignorance or disconnection. it's just, if you want the team to be good, you have to be able to move on. And Tampa Bay is learning the same thing about Tom Brady. Tom Brady's just,
well, don't count Tom out. I mean, he's got a couple back-to-back fourth quarter game-winning drives.
He's listening to that Toby Keith song, man. He's over there listening to that song on repeat. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
But I'm as good once. There you go. Hey, well, I'll tell you what, Miles. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, you know what they say, Miles. You either die the hero or you live long enough for Miles to want to trade your ass. and it looks like it's like there's no winning in this league. This guy is back-to-back MVP. He's a Bowl champion, and Green Bay Packer fans just want him out of the way. It sounds like.
Look,
so man, life comes at you fast, man. Father time.
Let me defend my stance because I've definitely made some enemies on Twitter with this already. There's some people out there.
We want Jordan Love.
Well, and it's not just that though. There's people out there that think that the problems this offseason. Let's just go into it. Lazy takes. We can just go right on into lazy takes here. Go. It's lazy takes time. We haven't done a formal lazy takes section for a while now, so let's do it.
We're back.
We are really back. All right, so here it is. Baby. If you think Rodgers is free of blame for the way this season has unfolded, that is a lazy take. Might be the laziest of takes. You have not watched football. And if you have, you don't understand what you watched. That is, I'm sorry to be blunt, that is the cold, hard truth. Aaron Rodgers is absolutely sharing blame for how this season has unfolded. And you say, oh, yeah, broken thumb, he's tough. He's really done a good job for being tough. That's great. You can take all your moral victories to the bank and see how much they'll cash them in for. I bet it's $0. Moral victories don't mean anything. They mean zero. And if you guys, and this is something I love to do, and for somebody who hasn't played Madden and now it's been years, it's kind of weird, but if you go on Madden and you're playing on Madden and you have a 99 overall player and he gets hurt, guess what? His overall is now like 78. He cannot play to that 100 or 99 level when he's hurt, like period. And you guys can say, well, he's done really good for somebody with a broken thumb. That's great. And I agree. He's still zipping the ball. You can see it. But there's also a lot of evidence to show that he can't do it the same way with a broken thumb. For one fact, for a period of at least 6 weeks there, he could not throw it beyond 15 yards. It didn't happen. And when it did, it was terrible. It was the gif that people were shooting around Twitter of Mitch Trubisky, where the kid's running up one side of the field, dude throws it to the other side.
Don't bring Maserati Mitch into this.
I got to do it.
That's a lazy take.
Lazy take on lazy takes. No, but you cannot remove him from blame for the way the season has gone, and it goes beyond physical ability. It comes down to decision making, as I've said several times on this podcast now. And the Giants game is the golden glowing example of that, which is you have 2 shots at the end of the game to survive and to try to win the game. And both times with a yard to go, Aaron Rodgers made the wrong call. And that's just facts. I had somebody get in an argument with me on Twitter about how I was wrong about this because it was Matt's stupid RPO concept. I had to take this guy on a journey to explain the RPO concept. For those of you who don't understand the RPO concept and you just listen to Tony Romo say it over and over again on your broadcast, so you think you know what it means run, pass, option. Is my mic working? Option.
I hear you.
Okay. So when the caller of the play or the coach, whoever it is, gives you, the quarterback, a run pass option, you, the quarterback, have the option to choose. So this person was like, it was Matt LaFleur's stupid RPO concept. It's to blame. Okay, well then he gave Rodgers the option to run or pass. Rodgers chose twice with 1 yard to gain and two of the best running backs in the NFL behind him to pass and not run. That is Rodgers' fault. That is not the coach's fault. That is not the running back's fault. That's not even the receiver's fault. That's Rodgers' fault.
Let's just, for the sake of the podcast, sprinkle in a little devil's advocate here. What if the play caller just called an ISO run or a power and he can't check out of that, or I guess he could check out anything, right? But it's not the RPO that's coming in through the headset.
But so let's go with that, though. I mean, if he does call that dive and for whatever reason Rodgers is like, no, I don't like it, I'm going to check to a pass. That was still the wrong decision to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we end up at the same. Yeah, we end up at the same spot.
Yeah, and that's why with this guy over here, it's Matt LaFleur's fault. Like, all right,
well,
please play that out for me.
Miles,
show me.
My younger eyes remember seeing a grieving Brett Favre, who I believe had a broken thumb, coming off. I think it was right when his father passed away, and lit up. I think it was the Oakland Raiders at the time for 3 touchdowns. He had a 3 or 4 touchdown performance.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Because I will say this also is that watching that Bears game with Green Bay in town, he was missing wide open guys, and not
he went
pretty.
18 for 31.
He was missing
That's not good.
Wide open guys.
Yeah.
Wide open guys. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, right, is not to throw some shade over to the Green Bay side of the podcast, but it wasn't the same Rodgers that is a proud owner of the Chicago Bears, right? It was more like that was a Green Bay Packer win.
It was
more so than it was an Aaron Rodgers domination of the Chicago Bears.
It absolutely was. And I mean, you nailed it. Justin Fields had a better game. And then everybody will probably want to, he threw 2 interceptions. I'm sure that plenty of you Bears fans out there that are anti-Justin Fields, they're not going to let us forget those 2 interceptions. He went 20 for 25 for 250 yards. That is a great game in the NFL. It just is.
Yeah.
He had a 90-plus passer rating or QB rating, whatever it is. He had 2 interceptions.
Best game by far that he's had as a pro. And this is with Darnell Mooney on IR. Chase Claypool, I think, got hurt in the game and then came back in the game. And again, no Khalil Herbert. But don't want to go through the whole list of injuries there. But Justin kept him in the game, and I think that he has done that all year. And did you have any more lazy takes, Miles? Because I think we can also start talking about
maybe we can make what we're talking about a lazy take. It's kind of been an ongoing lazy take, right, with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking here at the box score from the game, Justin Fields' leading receiver was Equanimous St. Brown. He couldn't make the Packers roster. And everybody wants to make excuses for Rodgers because he doesn't have weapons. Rodgers is a seasoned vet, one of the best to ever do it. All right? Justin Fields is a second-year starter. The one that needs the weapons is the second-year starter. Yes, absolutely. So
tough kid.
I've got nothing but compliments for Justin Fields, and I don't want to do that as a Packers fan. But in reality here, that I look at with my eyeballs, a guy who was responsible single-handedly for over 300 yards. He ran for a touchdown on a 55-yard run. He had a phenomenal game. Yes, there is criticism to be handed out. He didn't have a 100 out of 100 game. He did not grade perfectly. He made 2 mistakes. But
Yeah.
the point being is you got to
Well,
look at this for what it is. The guy across the field who didn't throw an interception, but only completed like 50% of his passes, or maybe a little bit better than that.
Against a bad defense. These guys were
A
wide
nobody
open, Miles,
defense.
and it was like he was skipping rocks. And I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not talking smack. I mean, it's Aaron
No.
Rodgers, back-to-back MVP, just didn't look like himself. And
He went
obviously the
18 for
injuries, I think.
31 against a nobody secondary. Dude, you and I sat on this podcast and I said, who's going to stop Christian Watson? And you're like, I got nothing for you.
Practice so practice squad players, Miles,
Yeah.
that were activated that week, they were playing against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not sure if you caught that, but at one point in the game, because of injuries, again, keep in mind that no Eddie Jackson, no Kyle
Right.
Gordon, no
Right.
Jaquan Brisker, right? The secondary is already down to the studs, and then take another injury in the game where I think Kendall Vildor or somebody else, forgive me, it's been a couple weeks, but at the end of the day, practice squad players that suited up were in the game. And so to say that it was not a good defensive showing. I will say this to the critics out there with the lazy take. Obviously, never want to entertain the trolls, right? But I'll throw them a bone, right? The huge knock on Justin Fields is obviously that he can't pass the ball, right? So in this last game, because they had a bye week, we're coming off a bye week here, which we are excited to see how this Chicago Bears team led by Matt Eberflus comes out of the bye. They go in against Green Bay. Justin Fields is throwing bombs. And not only that, but they are on the money where only his guy can make a play. I think Jerry Alexander, obviously he had a lot to say after the game because of the interceptions, right? Rightfully so. But, dude, you got burned by N'Keal Harry and you got burned by Equanimeous St. Brown, right? Like
yards.
for 49 yards. Like these are big chunks of yards through the air. And, again, N'Keal Harry, is he going to be a Bear next year? We don't know, right? Equanimeous St. Brown, probably not. Dante Pettis, probably not. So yeah, I mean, he's throwing the ball. He's the number one leading rusher in the NFL. This is above Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, all of these workhorse ground running backs, right, that are running the ball. Justin Fields is leading the league in rushing yards. Don't quote me here. This is napkin math. I think he's somewhere at like 1,800 or 1,900 passing yards with 4 games to play. This is, again, nothing to write home about, right? Oh, Miguel, it's a 1,900 yards passing. We're talking about the Chicago Bears, right? The Chicago Bears offense that I don't think they had a 4,000-yard passer since Sid Luckman before Jay Cutler came into town, and I don't even think he was prevalent at passing the 4,000-yard mark. Justin Fields is throwing the ball. He's running the ball. He's definitely an impact player. And this is where I'll end this, and I'll park it here, Miles. Pro Bowler.
This season?
Justin Fields. And yeah, he got voted to the Pro Bowl, just flat out voted into the Pro Bowl.
Oh, it's already
Another Chicago
done?
Bear. Yeah,
the Pro Bowl voting's already done? Did I miss out on this? What happened?
It's already done. So check this out. The Bears today have 2 Pro Bowlers. One of them, Justin Fields. Do you know who the other one is, Miles?
Who would the other one be? David Montgomery?
Tevin Jenkins.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Dude, wow, for sure. Tevin Jenkins makes the Pro Bowl in his second year as a Chicago Bear.
Wow.
Famous, infamous Ryan Pace draftee that was brought in with Larry Borum last year, comes in at the beginning of training camp, and there's a stalemate that the coaching staff, the new regime, hasn't bought into Tevin Jenkins. There's back and forth that's flying with rumors in the media that he has character issues and back issues, and we don't know what's going on. He's no longer on the field. Next thing you know, you fast forward to December 14th, he's a Pro Bowler. So I think if anything, that is a huge building block for this team. I think Miles, you might remember he was a lot of in a lot of trade discussions before the season kicked off. That young man has done an about face and been a highlight in a season of low lights with this offensive line of just he pancakes his defender almost. It's a sight to see when you get to see this when we talk about man movers. This dude, he's a beast. My hat goes off to him. Congratulations, young man. You are a Pro Bowler. Justin Fields, also a Pro Bowler. I don't want to get too excited about the Justin nomination, Miles, because Mitch Trubisky was a Pro Bowler as well. But you know you know how I feel about that. I'm excited that Justin Fields is just obviously getting some recognition here. A lot of trolls that don't want to see the young man succeed, but I think he is really the real deal, Holyfield.
He seems like it. I don't understand the people that don't want him to succeed or that are super critical of his passing skills, because he's still, I mean, technically not a full season as a starter yet. Like, that's still not done. He hasn't done that yet. So
he did that in like week. He played 8 games last year, so he
it was 8 games.
Did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he has done a full season technically. But still, we've talked about it. This might as well be his first year. You're tossing last year's evaluation out for most purposes. Maybe there's a few things you look at, you could take from it. But for most purposes, you're looking at this year for evaluating him, because this is the system he's in now. Last year's system was different. The first year of any system is going to be rough. It's going and if you're a Bears fan, like, don't call yourself a Bears fan if you're not paying attention to the season. First of all, if you're paying attention to the season, then you've noticed that the kid has gotten better as the season has gone along, and I don't think there's really a debate about it. I mean, it's almost been game by game. You can measurably see how he's gotten better. So I don't know, like, if I'm a Bears fan, or if Justin Fields is somehow on the Packers roster, and we've already moved along from Aaron Rodgers, I'm ecstatic about Justin Fields. I'm over here with flashing my bright hat about Justin Fields. I would not listen to a word that any of the naysayers have to say, because I'd be like, look, you're just not watching football. I don't believe that you have any kind of valid opinion about what you're seeing here in this football player, because he's a good football player. And if you don't think so, well, I don't agree with you. But yeah, man, I do. I think he's legit, and he's got a long way to go too. I mean, it's not like he's a finished product. You can't, anybody that's looking at him like he's a finished product, like, you're really missing out, to be totally honest. If you're a fan of football, you should enjoy seeing players progress. It's fun watching players get better and do better things. It's fun arguing with your buddies about, look, this guy, he's legit, I'm telling you. And then a few years later, he's the best receiver in the league, Davante Adams. I still remember the arguments I was having with my buddies in 2017 or whenever it was about Davante Adams. Like, I'm telling y'all. Like, you're crazy. No, he's not. And then here we are. He's one of the best receivers, if not still the best receiver in the league. And he's on a tear lately with Derek Carr as his quarterback. So you can't even really attribute it to Aaron Rodgers anymore. Player development is fun to watch. Yeah. And I encourage all of you to enjoy Justin Fields' development, because he's going to be one of the best in the league, in my opinion. And I don't like that as a Packers fan. I don't want to deal with that.
In my passion and excitement, I got to walk this one back. It was leading votes. I don't think they finalized the roster yet. I think
it felt early to finalize it.
Yeah, no, I think I saw it and blacked out when I was reading the article with excitement. But I think there's 2 Bears that are leading top 3 in their respective positions, and it's Justin Fields and Tevin Jenkins. But awesome. But those rosters have not been finalized.
So still room to further solidify that spot. But yeah, no, It is. It's got to be exciting if you're a Bears fan and you're having, a season that's going to score you a top 5 draft pick and you've got Pro Bowlers. That's cool. That's a good thing to have. I mean,
Yeah.
most teams that have
I
top
would
5
say,
draft pick don't have a Pro Bowler.
even if we're looking at through the lens of top votes, right, of voting, leading the voting category, they're both on the offensive side of the ball. They have no defensive representation in the top vote getters. On the defensive side of the ball, I think that speaks volumes, Miles. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier.
Not a surprise, though, is it?
No. I mean, can't even think of one that would legitimately be a Pro Bowler. I think there is some excitement, right? You hunt the good stuff. Jack Sanborn is,
yes.
I said it, I think earlier, is there's some football players that were born to be Chicago Bears. And I'm sure you feel the same way about Green Bay. There's just some Green Bay Packers that, they were born to be and put on the green and yellow or green gold. With the Bears, right? Like you got the Urlachers, the Buckus, and Singletary, all these just legends. And then you have Lake Zurich kid in Jack Sanborn, who is just lights out playing instinctive ball, not going to blow you away on any of the measurables, right? On any of the 40 time, nothing's going to jump out on paper, cone drill, etc. But the kid can play. And again, we mentioned this in this podcast at the beginning of the year. He lined up across from Justin Herbert in college. He lined up across from Justin Fields in college.
Right.
And made plays. The guy's a playmaker, comes to the NFL undrafted. And he has been leading the Chicago Bears in tackles in the last 3 weeks. So that's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, man, I think, this week is Green Bay on a bye.
No, we were on a bye with y'all last week. So we have the Rams on Monday night this week. So I do apologize to the rest of the viewers who will not enjoy that game. 2 losing teams going at it in prime time. What's not to love?
Man, I'll tell you what. Man, I did. Well, this week is a little bit crazy in the sense that we have Thursday game tomorrow. We have a Saturday game. Or Saturday games.
3 Saturday games.
Sunday games and Monday. Yeah, so Saturday games start this week. And Green Bay obviously playing that primetime game with the Rams, who have some Baker magic. So I wouldn't necessarily sleep on that game or just chalk it up as a W, because Baker went in there with 2 days, 48 hours on the team and beats Las Vegas. Unbelievable story there. And the Bears obviously playing the juggernaut. I think Jalen Hurts, MVP, leading candidate for the MVP this year. Coming in, bringing his arsenal of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. I mean, you name it. They're coming in, play the Bears, or I don't know if the Bears are on the road playing in Philly. But just some football is back. Our teams are back.
Looks like they are at Soldier Field, so at least you have that going for you.
Okay,
but
so that's going to be blistering cold. We talked about there's no advantage there with Philly, though.
No, because Philly's ugly too. But I'm looking here at this over/under that ESPN has set up here. I don't know what feeds their over/under. I don't know where they're getting that from, but they've got it at 48.5. Is that what are you taking here?
I'm taking that the Philadelphia offense is going to cover most of those points.
I think I'm taking the over, man.
yeah, I would take the over because, not because of this reason, but so they are going to get Kyle Gordon back. They are going to get Jaquan Brisker back. Justin Fields did not practice today, Miles. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
The cited reason being illness, which I will say not Justin Fields related or football related, but I think a good moment to plug the immune armor because there's something that's just going around.
Armor
There
up.
is something that's going around, man.
Absolutely.
I don't want to get on a tangent here, but just be careful out there, everybody. Be safe. Nasty bug going around. Justin Fields did not practice today with that illness. Again, this is the same scenario going into the Green Bay game, right? Is if Justin plays, it's yes, they'll cover that 48-point spread. If he doesn't, then you got the only two quarterbacks that practiced today for Chicago, Peterson and Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle. He's still trucking, man.
I'm Team Timmy.
So yeah, I'm Team Timmy too. Because if Team Timmy plays, then the Bears, get closer to locking in that top 3 draft pick. Only because I think we mentioned this. Baker again winning that game puts a little bit more cushion between the Bears and the Rams, who are jockeying also in that top 5 spot. But the Bears' last few games of the season, the last 4 weeks, are not going to be easy matchups. I mean, they got Philly, they got Buffalo, and I believe they play the divisional games that they have lined up as well.
Yeah, man. Philly, Buffalo, Detroit, and Minnesota. Now, the only game that is away is Detroit. So all of those other teams are coming to you. Are you going 0-4 here?
No, I think they get a win.
Okay.
That win is either against Detroit at Detroit because it's Justin Fields indoors, and we all know what can happen with him running, right?
Absolutely.
And then also keep in mind on that Minnesota game, Miles, with them having the record that they have, I'd be surprised if any starters roll out onto the field against the Bears. So the Bears would essentially be playing.
That's always the topic, isn't it? With those last week games, right? It's probably going to be the Eagles and the Vikings. Maybe a couple others. Do they rest them? Do they play them? Do you think the Vikings choose to rest those players? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is I think. Well, I don't want to say no brainer because there's a lot of perspective that could change my mind otherwise, but I just say at this point in the season, Miles, and I mean you played college ball. I mean, how's your body feel?
No, after even a few games, man, your body's not getting back to 100%. Like that's kind of the cold.
Well, but if you get 2 weeks, off, I mean, the body's it's a marvel, right? Like it's a medical marvel, like how quick that the body could recover. The only thing, though, right? Like we deviate from the body itself and recovery and the bruises and the ailments and the ligaments and all that's starting to heal during that time to get healthy. The rhythm of the actual game. Exactly. I mean, football is a game of rhythm. So where do you stand on sitting or playing your starters?
I'm team 17. Play, man. I don't like the kind of exhale that happens, even considering the health benefit. And I think maybe there's spot guys that you probably would hold back. If there's somebody who's on the bubble, needs that time to heal up, get it to them. But I don't think you rest healthy guys. I think we've seen that happen, and more times than not, those guys get popped in the mouth the next week by the emotionally charged wild card team that had their big win the week before, and they're hot, right? Like they're warmed up, they're on a roll, they've got they're in that flow. Whereas if you pull guys out, You pull them out of the flow, and then you got to get them back into the flow. And that is, it's not just a game. Like, I think it's easy to look at that as like, well, it's you're out of the game, get in the game. It's how you approach a week, right? So it's all of your practices and mentally what guys will be doing if they know they're not starting. They're all humans, and it's not that anybody tanks, but if you know that you don't have a responsibility on the field that week, you don't prepare for it. It's just the nature of a human being, right? You prepare for not being on the field that week. You prepare somebody else to be on the field in front of you.
We can't all be Russell Wilson, right? Just a team of Russells.
Oh my God!
I'm sure he'd prepare. I'm sure he'd prepare if he's not playing.
I don't know what to think about that guy anymore, man. He is.
Let's get some predictions out here, man. I could go on a rant on.
I'm starting to feel
not about
bad
him.
for
I
him.
think
You know what I mean?
Guy, but the fan base.
It's rough.
I'll go ahead and say it. We have a platform, right? We have this OG podcast.
Yeah,
boy, this couldn't be happening to a better fan base, in my opinion. I think so low of the Denver Bronco fan base, starting with their beat writers, all the way down to the ladies yelling at you after the Karens yelling at you after the game to go back to your city. You're a traveling fan.
Love it.
And that was when Eddie Pinheiro kicked in the game-winning field goal with a second left.
Oh man,
there was
I imagine they were feeling a certain way after that. You know.
Yeah, they were, and they were letting it fly too. But I think on this podcast too, I let you know that I gave it back to them coming out of the Monday night Chargers and Broncos game this year, letting them all know that. Was it Broncos country? Let's ride. I think I said that 100 times coming out of the stadium.
Oh yeah, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy because they have no first round picks for like, was it 5 years, 4 years,
something like that.
Wow, unbelievable. Let's ride.
Let's ride. Broncos country.
Let's ride.
So then, after this just meltdown of a season, like. What does Russell Wilson do after this? We're talking about predictions now. Let's predict. Is he a Bronco after this? I think financially he has to be. And two, what do you do with that? What do you do with that?
I'm gonna send the who's the John Elway? He's the GM up there or owner. I'm going to send him an invoice because here's what you do. You cut your losses, man. You cut your losses. You take the dead cap hit, salary cap hit, and you move on because I think if anything, I think Russell, I think he may have more left in the tank. Again, I think very highly of Russell Wilson, the human being.
Yeah. He seems like an excellent human.
Not going to happen in Denver, man. I'm telling you. I think the damage has been done. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy had a nice little inspiring performance here. I got nothing against the Broncos. I just don't see eye to eye with the beat writers and the fans. But that's about it.
I can agree with you on that.
I grew up watching John Elway and loving the Broncos. Terrell Davis, all of that.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
John Lynch. I mean, loved the Broncos growing up. But again, personal bias on how I feel, the way I feel. But how about predictions, Miles? How about predictions for this weekend?
Well, I want to just get my kicks in because you just brought up a particularly sensitive era for me. When I was a young man and had to watch my Packers lose a Super Bowl to the Broncos. So I too enjoy that this is happening to the Broncos.
Yes.
So yeah.
Enjoy your cornerback.
we can high five on that one as rivals and enjoy that dumpster fire and maybe roast some s'mores over it, you know. But
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
I'd like to get to as we move on here and get closer to predictions. This is one I'll probably snip out just so we can have some fun with it online. But boy, does the league need to get their shit together. Holy hell.
Uh-oh.
Did you see what happened with Devontae Parker and Nelson Aguilar? Like with the concussion and the Patriots?
Was sitting to the sideline and the side judge and the referee. And
yeah, first of all, round of applause for Aguilar being an excellent teammate. I mean, Aguilar was being an awesome teammate going, hey, this is a problem. What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
But, dude, watching the replay of Devontae Parker getting hit and trying to get up, what was anybody doing on the Patriots sideline? Yeah, like, how did you miss that? How did anybody miss that? Much less the people who were, like, their job. There's literally people employed by the NFL as concussion spotters. Boy. How did you miss that? He couldn't stand. It was incredible.
Miles, you think we can be concussion spotters?
They got to get paid good, right? You know, NFL makes a lot of money.
I mean,
I can do a better job than the jamokes they got up there right now.
How much does the chain gang make?
I don't think the chain gang gets a lot. I think that they it's more like, hey, you know, you get to stand on the sideline next to NFL players once a week. That's pretty cool.
It's not worth anything.
It's an experience. No, all those guys have full-time jobs.
Me. I'm working on a Sunday. You better not come up.
Yeah, they're probably paying you like $10 an hour.
Hey, you got to sit next to Bill Belichick for 3 hours in the cold. You better pay my ass.
They'll pay you like $10 an hour, enough to tax you on it. And
all right, I'll do it for $10. That's not even minimum wage. I'll do it. Yeah, but definitely need to check in with those concussion spotters and the medical staff and the training staff and the coaching staff. And I was going to say the players, but I guess the players get a pass because Nelson Aguilar was
drawing attention. What about the rest of them? Good Lord. The guy couldn't even stand in his stance. How did he stand in the huddle? And how did none of them go, hey, dude, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? I mean,
system failure.
Total system
failure.
So, clean up your side of the street, league. This is ugly. This is amateur hour. You must be paying these spotters $10 an hour because that's the kind of quality work you're getting. They're up there with their finger in their nose looking at Instagram. Like, this is pathetic. So just wanted to call them out. We're calling out the league. Get your shit together, league. Clean up your side of the street and start taking care of head injuries and players with head injuries and this type of thing. I'll just say from a fan's perspective, I get so fed up and sick of hearing every offseason how much the NFL cares about player safety. Just F off, all of you. Anybody who there's probably a committee, there's probably a rules, like they always have the rules committee meetings and all that kind of stuff. Oh, player safety is a top priority. Please shove it in your pipe.
You know what I think is the most patronizing, condescending comment that the league makes every year is right around this time, they'll say that they're going to have a healthy discussion about it at the summer meetings.
Yeah.
So,
healthy discussion.
So yeah, we get a healthy discussion about it. And I just, one thing to sprinkle in before we get to predictions here, mentioned Jerry Jeudy had a breakout performance with some of the touchdowns he hauled in from Russell Wilson over the weekend. He rips his helmet off on just a tirade and bumps into an official. Officials looks at him, doesn't throw the flag. But I just thought it was funny, Miles, that here is a player that has his helmet off, right? That's a 15-yard penalty. Bumps into an official, that's an ejection, right?
Yeah.
15-yard penalty.
Can't contact the official.
Can't contact the official. No flag is thrown. has a great game. Good for him. But I don't know if you remember when they played Pittsburgh Monday night last year, and a Bears practice squad linebacker stares down the Pittsburgh
I
sideline,
remember that
and the
vividly.
ref bumps into him, throws a
Yep.
15-yard penalty. I just think that this is, when we're talking about calling out the league, NFL officiating, I think, is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to sports. And yes, I get the human element, the human error that comes with the human eye, but
Nah,
I just I don't appreciate how they carry themselves as they are untouchable, right?
that's what it is.
And don't have to answer for any of the controversial calls that are made on the field. I think you and I touched on really welcoming and encouraging a press conference for the game crew
Heck yeah.
after the game, just to give them exposure to answer some of the questions from the press.
I agree with that.
In sports media.
But that you nailed it, dude. It's the way they carry themselves. And that leads to inconsistency, which is what we have now. And it wasn't even, you don't even have to go to last season to find examples. You had games earlier this season being impacted by a player scoring, taking his helmet off, getting a 15-yard penalty, and the team subsequently missing the extra point. And the Panthers, when DJ Moore did that. If you're going to do something, do it consistently. The inconsistency is the worst part. Like, that's the part that riles people up the most. Whether you're a fan, a player, a coach, it doesn't matter. We all can see it. You're on a stage. That's the part that I think that most people feel kind of gaslit about at this point, because it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, is that, in the past, social media, didn't have the same clip on loop for millions of people to see and share and retweet over and over and over all your mistakes. But I will say this, and I'll go on record, in like 15 years, there'll be an ESPN 30 for 30 of how the mob infiltrated the NFL officiating circle for Vegas. And and then we'll come back to this episode where you say we were gaslit, because they are atrocious.
It's
atrocious discrepancies in the consistency of these calls, phantom calls that should have been called and were not. I mean,
how about the roughing the passer calls?
Man,
can we just do away with that rule at this point? Oh my God, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not consistently called. You got some quarterbacks, i.e. Justin Fields, just getting absolutely destroyed, tossed around, no flag. Then you got Tom Brady getting sneezed on, get 15 yards. So it's not fun to watch. They do call it the no fun league. I didn't really want to go down that road, but it's not fun to watch.
They've earned it. No fun league.
And
you know what? I think if we go hard on the no fun league, maybe they'll lighten up if we can get a little bit of momentum around that, because last time people went hard on the no fun league, that's when they brought back the celebrations and kind of eased up on those rules. So maybe that's what we need to do.
The no celebrating.
That was so
times,
dumb,
man.
That was a dark period in the NFL. How dumb was that?
Yeah.
That was so dumb. That just
bad.
And if you're old enough,
fined.
Well,
it's legal now, but they're still getting fined.
And there's rules around. You can't go to the ground. Can't use this as a prop. If y'all are old enough to have seen football before there were no rules associated with celebrating, you got primo content. You saw some of the best NFL content that there has ever been. I mean, some of those celebrations were so just filthy, man. It was awesome.
Dude, a few of them real quick. Cell phone, Sharpie, pom-poms. You know what I'm talking about?
Each one. Every single, absolutely, dude. Joe Horn, T.O.,
you don't know what
it's
like to be a kid and watching T.O. whip a Sharpie out of his sock and just start signing balls in the middle of the game after just an incredible touchdown. I mean, that's fun. If anything, like, you want to talk about fun. Like, oh, that's not good sportsmanship. Don't let T.O. score, right? Yes. Like the whole point of the game is gamesmanship. Like, you want to play defense, they're playing offense. your job on defense is to prevent scoring. If they
Yeah.
score and you don't like what they do when they score, guess what you can do? You can wrap up and tackle and bring them
Yeah.
down to the ground, like with no legal repercussions, right? Like you're not going to jail. You can smack somebody. That's the whole beauty of football, man. Is
Talk to Aaron Donald
you
about
take
that.
it personal and you keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah. No, that was such a great era of football, man. You had Joe Horn whipping out the cell
Yeah,
phone on the field. Dude, that was
yeah.
sick.
He was calling Omni St. Brown.
I need a better agent. I'm scoring too much. I got to get paid
The
more.
better agent. Yeah.
Then you
Well,
had
now that we're talking about cell phone calls, maybe we should get to predictions
yeah, I
finally.
guess so. I guess so. We've gotten long enough here.
Yeah,
It's going to take me forever to edit this. That's okay.
we're back. We're
Dude, all
back.
right. We jumped into a bit of the Eagles Bears game. Let's finish that off.
Yeah.
Like let's throw the assumption in there that Fields is playing because he is. Like let's not.
Yeah.
If he played against the Packers,
Yeah.
he's playing this game. Fields is
So
playing. What happens here, man? Like how bad could this get, and how close? Like what's your
yeah.
range of possibilities here?
So here's my range of possibilities. Number one, I already text my army buddy, who's a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. Shout out to him. And I'll give you a fly, Eagles fly in your name, in your
Ooh,
honor.
ooh,
I already texted him and said that
respect.
Justin Fields is going to come out victorious, unfortunately. So I'm already
What?
talking some shit to my Eagle
You didn't
fan
say that.
friends.
You predicting a win?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out.
love
So
it.
the Bears have in the past 2 seasons beaten a team that's gone to the Super Bowl. It happened with the Bengals, and they beat the brakes off of them at Soldier Field last year.
Okay.
And then the
Okay.
season prior, man, I'm drawing a blank on the season prior. Oh, Tom Brady and
But
the Buccaneers, they beat the brakes off of them at Soldier Field. So,
okay.
right, if you take that formula into consideration and you say, okay, the Eagles are the NFC team coming out of the NFC to go represent the
Safe to
NFC in the
say.
Super Bowl, then they have to take an L to Chicago.
Love it.
Look, it's not me. It's just the way the
Ah,
world works, man. It's just the way the world works.
I love it.
But in all seriousness, I will say this: Soldier Field will be fun this weekend. Why? Because of Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts matching up on the lakefront. It's going to be blistering cold. It's the weather, the wind chill, the wind. It's going to be nasty, a nasty game to be playing in, but those are always the funnest games to watch. That crowd, Miles, when it gets that cold, you know what they're doing?
Oh yeah. I mean, just like at Lambeau,
They're
man. You got to stay
boozing.
warm. You got to stay warm.
You gotta
You
stay
got to
warm somehow.
keep that
I
soul
wouldn't
warm.
be shocked or surprised if there are some shirtless Bear fans out there, bearing the cold in nothing but a beanie, and fueled by some Captain Morgan. So what happens when these cold games run into town, man? Chicago gets festive. The city lights up. It's going to be a very excited crowd. Do I believe they will win, Miles? I do not. Do I want them to? Am I talking shit to my Philadelphia Eagles fans, who are my buddies? Yes, I am. But
Right
in
on.
all seriousness, I mean, Jalen Hurts MVP season, hat goes off to him. I would be insufferable if somehow the Bears find a way to win this game. But yeah, I got them winning handsomely as far as the Philadelphia Eagles coming into town. And I think it will be exciting. I do think they cover that 48.5, I think you said. And if anything, it'll just be a preview of hopefully future playoff matchups between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields.
Well, do you have a score, or is it just like over 48.5? Don't worry about it.
Well, it'll be over 40.5, but I would say
How many points
I
are the
would
Bears getting
say
here? Are they getting 21?
the the Bears are getting over 21 points, 100%.
Okay.
Um, But the thing is that I wouldn't be being true to myself if I didn't say that I didn't think that Philly could come in here and put 50 points up.
They got
That's
firepower for
how,
days, man.
dude, they got firepower. I think that they put up close to 50. Final score, I'll just put out there 50-27.
Ooh, 50-27. Okay. I don't think the Eagles get to 50 on them. I think I agree with your 57 or your 27. I might go 21. Just to be a naysayer. I'm gonna go 42-21. I think that the Eagles definitely get a handy win there, an easy win, but I think Justin Fields keeps it interesting in that first half, similar to the way that he did with the Cowboys, right? And there was some back and forth until
Green Bay
busted open. I think he can hang with them for a few quarters there, keep it close, keep it interesting, and at the end of the day, there's not enough on that defense to stop that offense of the Eagles. So yeah, that's what you probably run into, like we're talking about. Yeah, so 42-21 would be my prediction there for the Bears this weekend against the Eagles. Any other interesting notes for that game?
Yeah, just keep an eye out on that injury report because Justin Field is not participating in practice.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like I said, Jaquan Brisker, Kyle Gordon coming back, should have a healthier defense. But again, that front seven, Miles, is going to get beat. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, and that's been the case for everybody except for one who's gone up against the Eagles this season. I mean, it's just they're good, man. They're too good. So, yeah, I hear you on that one. I think it's just Bears fans just watch Justin Fields, watch the development. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited for.
That's what I would say. Now we've got a Monday night matchup.
Monday night,
two losing teams, but you've got the back-to-back MVP on one side. You've got Miracle Baker Mayfield on the other with his 2 days of practice and his last second win. You got coaches who know each other really well, both brilliant minds. McVay certainly has the edge over LaFleur, no doubt about that. There's a lot to watch here. Two pretty good defenses too. You know, Jalen Ramsey is no stranger to Aaron Rodgers. I think the personalities in this game is what makes it worth watching. To be honest. Now I'm still not as optimistic as some of Packers Twitter. Some of Packers Twitter still has the Packers in the playoffs and is all in on, Aaron Rodgers and the Swan Song and all this.
Well, they got to win out, right?
Yeah, you got to win out, and then you got to have some help. And I hate that. I hate the whole win out and hope for, the stars to align by, all this and that.
You get in, you get in.
Well, and what I said last week is, look, if the Packers find their way in, I want them to win. I'm not cheering against them, but I'm also not wasting my energy on believing that they will make the playoffs right now. That takes a lot of energy for me. I have to concede the playoffs at this point, but also try to enjoy watching the Packers try to make the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, I want to see them win every time they play. Let's not make any bones about it. I think joking about Team Tank on Twitter is a lot of fun, especially when gifts are involved. But at the end of the day, I am, unless you are firmly out of the playoffs, I am not a proponent of Team Tank. I don't like that. I don't like the concept of it anywhere. I think it's bad for sports, but you'd be an irresponsible front office if you didn't do it in certain circumstances. So that said, with this game against the Rams, I am kind of excited to see some of these matchups. I'm interested to see who Jalen Ramsey is going to be trying to shut down, if he sticks with one guy or if they try to play a zone and he covers multiple. I'm interested to see if anybody on that defense can keep up with Christian Watson, because so far over the last 4 weeks, nobody can. That's my biggest reason for excitement. Watch Christian Watson fly. I can't wait. He's going to score another touchdown. Write it down. Take it to the bank. He'll probably have a 40, 50-yard plus catch or run, one of the two. I think it's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a frustrating game to watch as a Packer fan. You're going to see the defense struggle in some ways. You're going to see the offense struggle and more. But fortunately, I think the Packers have the talent to win the game. So if the talent shows up in the way that it has when they win games, I think it's a very winnable game. But so do the Rams. They have the talent to win a game too. So interesting toss-up for me, man. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. You know, the Rams really haven't had a whole lot of high-scoring games this season. They've been in kind of looking at their scores here. You know, they've been in dogfights quite a bit. You know, last week 17-16 with the Raiders. Before that, 27-23 with the Seahawks. You know, they keep games low-scoring and close, with a few exceptions in there where they lost. But yeah, I think this is going to be a similar game. I think you get a 24-20 type of game, and you know, my homer bias throws the Packers on the advantage there, so I say that we get a 24-20 win at Lambeau over the Rams on Monday night.
Oh, Monday night. Well, I'll tell you what, I am going to agree with you on who will be victorious, only because I feel like if Baker wins Monday night, there will be a Baker Mayfield statue downtown LA. I mean, it's Baker Mania all over again. And the last thing that this world needs, or maybe, who knows, maybe we do need a Baker statue out here.
Maybe.
But I see this one kind of being similar to that Vegas game where it's back and forth and then comes down to that last drive. I just have it tipping in Green Bay's favor, and I'll go a little bit more points being scored here. I'll go 20, or I'm thinking 17-16 for the Vegas game. I'll go 21-14 Green Bay.
Cool.
Monday night fantasy playoffs.
There you have it. Give me a bold
People's
prediction.
Podcast.
Give me something that's going to happen that nobody sees coming. Anything.
For which game?
For the Bears game.
Oh, for the Bears game?
I was gonna throw a wrench at you and say for the Packers game, but you're more suited to put one out there for the Bears game. You kind of already did though.
Yeah.
With the win, I mean, but I guess like, does Justin Fields?
Well, I mean, that's,
you know, is he scoring more touchdowns on the ground or in the air? How about that?
Through the air. I think he does get a rushing one. But again, I think that my prediction being that 27, he's gonna throw a couple touchdown passes. I'll say a hot take is that David Montgomery scores on a pass.
Okay.
He'll have a receiving touchdown. I do feel that. Yeah, because it'll be at a point where, again, where Philly's dominating, they just dump off a quick little screen to David, and I just have a feeling he's going to take one to the house. I think he's due. Beyond that, I mean, the only thing that I think Bear fans are going to be watching is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that. A hot take. I don't know if this is hot just because the kid's on fire, but I would agree with you that there's a 50-yard plus touchdown for Christian Watson. And I'll say it'll be on an end around, just like he's been doing. I mean, until someone stop him, I'm going to keep calling it.
Yeah, he's got that speed, man, and that's why I was shouting about the jet motion. You know, when Amari Rodgers is running a jet motion, the defense doesn't care. When Christian Watson runs a jet motion, everyone
puts his feet in the ground and he's gone.
Everyone cares. Everyone's going, oh,
and it's silly, man. I mean, it's just silly to watch how, these are professional athletes, these are DB
Yeah.
that they can't even run with them.
It's wild. He is fast, dude.
Yeah.
And another one here. So we get Romeo Doubs back this week.
Uh-oh. Look at that. Hey, I mean, it is shaping up. You're getting the people back at the right time, Miles.
Getting healthy. Getting pretty healthy. The injury report on the Packers side is pretty small. There's some key names on the IR, which is not good.
I'd hate for you to miss the playoffs, Miles. I would hate for you to miss the playoffs.
Look.
Just keep winning.
I'll never forget, and I think it was the Brett Favre broken thumb season. Just all these damn parallels. I believe it was. It was probably 2003, which was the broken thumb season, when the Packers season came down to the Vikings versus the Cardinals. Do you remember that? And the Cardinals had them, or the Vikings had them, and the Cardinals came. I think that's what it was. The Cardinals came back and won. The Vikings didn't win.
Yep. You guys needed the Vikings to lose.
Right, which makes a lot more sense than the Cardinals. Cardinals sucked. Those were the Denny Green days. But, I'll never forget that, because that was one of those seasons where it's like, all right, well, you need to win out, and then you need this, this, and this, and this, and this to happen. And the Packers win out in a kind of a wild way. I believe their last game against the Broncos, if I'm remembering correctly, was pretty wild, and they pulled it off.
You just unlocked the core memory, because I was very happy.
I will never forget how that season ended, because it was wild. Like the way the Cardinals came back to beat the Vikings was like a 1 in a million shot. Like, it was wild. Yeah. It was the last second. It was the toe barely in bounds, like end zone catch. It just nuts. And so that's what you're talking about here. That's what you're talking about with one of these seasons right now is you got to win out and you got to have all this other crap happen. Yeah. And until we get to that point, for me, it's kind of like, let's just see. I'm no longer willing to say the Packers are going to make the playoffs. I'm really not even willing to say they should be in the playoffs, because they haven't played well. Like, they beat the Cowboys. Man, great job. Great win there. Good win for sure. But man, like, it just doesn't feel like one of those teams that belongs in the playoffs. And now this last 4-game stretch might prove me wrong. Sure hope it does. That'd be kind of cool. But ultimately, I think that I'm more interested in the player development, as we talked about earlier in this episode. I love the idea of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs on the field at the same time. And man, if I got my wish, we would see some Jordan Love too. But the circumstance for that, there's only one good circumstance where that happens, and then you don't see Jordan Love very much if that does happen, which is the Packers just absolutely kick the dog shit out of him. If that happens, Jordan Love goes in the game and hands the ball off a few times. So otherwise, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, or the Packers get the brake speed off of him. Not wishing for either of those scenarios. So I think just if Matt LaFleur, got a wild hair at the end of the game, decide to play Jordan Love a few snaps, just maybe.
I think I'll speak for the lonely soul out there that's still listening.
It made it this far,
and we just want you to watch the game, Miles.
Yeah,
we just want you to go watch the game somewhere.
Well, now that it's on Monday Night Football on a nationally televised game, I will get to watch.
There you go.
Instead of consuming it through.
There you go. Miles will watch football this weekend.
Yes, I will watch football this weekend, and I did watch football the last weekend. TCU headed to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and I'll tip my hat off.
That was the same weekend there is the loss for your guys, but nonetheless,
it's all right. Ohio State's in, Alabama's out.
Yeah,
and the final college football reference here before getting into some life leaf remedies. I don't know if you saw the classic Army Navy game, but boy, when you talk about just feeling robbed in your lifetime of offense, being a Bears fan and rooting for Army football is it's tough, man. I mean, it's watching Army play football, some of the worst experiences I've had. I mean, and they fight tooth and nail for like 2 inches. I mean, we're not even talking like yards at this point, like 5-yard run, 6-yard run. I mean, they're like throwing bodies around and getting like 5 inches, 3 inches. It's brutal, but shout out Army got a huge win over Navy. I had a big smile on my face enjoying that one. That one went into double overtime this weekend. But yeah, everything's right in the world. Army won.
No, I did see your reactions on Twitter, so I knew that everything was okay. But I saw the comments about the offense, and facts of life sometimes. Just as much as Georgia Tech's going to run the triple option, Army's not going to be good at that offense. Just is what it is.
Yeah, good at other things though, just not throwing the football.
Good at the things we need you to be good at, like defending the nation.
Yeah,
we're cool with that.
Well, let's talk about some defense for the body, Miles. Let's talk about some life leaf remedies.
We need to armor up, y'all. Listen, Miguel already said it. All right, the bugs are out there, and if you have kids, you've already had it.
There.
If you have kids, you've already had it. Whatever it is that's going around, it came through your house. It came through my house. I didn't get it. You know why I didn't get it? Because I armored up. I double armored up, and I stayed healthy. I stayed on my game. I took care of my sick kids, and I felt better. I still feel better today. So y'all check us out, lifeleafremedies.com. If you need to feel better, and everybody does, go get you an immune armor. Go armor up, get you some immune armor capsules, and feel better today, y'all. You can subscribe and save, get your free shipping, 10% off, and you can cancel right after you do and take advantage of that. We will not stop you. We want y'all to get these products in your hand however we need to, and we know that you'll come back because we know that these are good natural remedies that are going to work for you. So check us out. Social media, website, all of it, lifeleafremedies.com. We are here to help y'all feel better today. And sir, how are we signing them off today?
Yeah, well, before signing off, Miles, we're going to need to have a jingle for Life Leaf coming up here. Maybe a little holiday treat for the
We're going to get like
we are
creative
podcast.
No, you know what?
Yeah.
Y'all tune in next week. I'll clip this out too. We got to have 5 clips at least. That's what I've decided. I'll clip this out too. Y'all tune in next week for an exclusive Life Leaf promo. Could be free product.
Oh, right.
But it will be exclusive to
jingle
this podcast.
TBD.
Yes.
Oh, I like it.
There it is.
I like
laying it down. So anybody that tunes in next week, you could be in for a free gift. You don't know. It could be anything. Better find out.
Oh, I like the sounds of that, Miles. I'll tell you what, since we're going to snip this out, then if you enjoy, please don't forget to spike that like button, leave us a comment, subscribe, and talk about us at your next tailgate. Bear down.
Yes. At your next cold tailgate when you're trying to stay warm and keep your beer from freezing up. So you got to poke the neck of the beer to get that slushy so you can still drink your beer. I've had too many cold tailgates in my history, so I've got some brutal memories there. But y'all enjoy the cold tailgate. Enjoy your footballs while we've got it, because we're not that far from the dead of the off season that we all dread. So let's just enjoy football, and I will say that with a go, Pack, go.
All right. Fly, Eagles, fly.